Greetings and welcome back to the No Channel. This is Bernadette Johnson. I'm also known as Keziah or Kizzy. And today I'm coming back to you with a mini message, a small message, a short, brief message on where I'll be discussing baby Moses in the basket as indicated in the title. Most of you are familiar with the story in the book of Exodus, where when the children of Israel were slaves in the land of Egypt. And it was during this time that Pharaoh issued a decree to kill all of the Hebrew male babies to control the Israelite population. Well, Moses was born during this time when Pharaoh issued that decree. And in order to save his life, Moses' mother, Jochebed or Jochebed, she hid her baby in a basket and put him on the river in hopes to save him from Pharaoh's decree to kill all the Hebrew male babies. And so this is a story that we're going to be talking about today. And of course, she had baby Moses' big sister Miriam to watch over, her little brother Moses in the basket to see what would happen to him. So I'm going to be concentrating on verses 3 and 4 of Exodus chapter 2. Of course, you can read, the whole story, but I'm just going to be concentrating on these two verses in this brief lesson. And when Moses' mother, when she could not longer hide him, she took for him an ark of bulrushes and daubed it with slime and with pitch, and put the child therein, and she laid it in the flags by the river's brink. And his sister, which is Miriam, stood afar off to wit what would be done to him. That means to see what would be done to him, to see what would happen to him. So, as I said, we'll be discussing these two verses. Now, of course, the big movie, The 10 Commandments, that came out in 1956. And I must be honest, growing up, this was my absolute favorite movie to watch. I absolutely love The 10 Commandments. But in this movie, it shows where, his mother putting him in a basket and floating him along the river, and his sister Miriam watching after him. And I'm just including a snippet of the clip, a screenshot of the clip, so you can see it for yourself, how it's depicted in this movie where she sends him floating in a little basket on the river. And then it's a quote in the movie where Moses' mother tells Miriam to watch him and see where the Lord will lead him. And this is the exact quote. She says, "Follow it, Miriam. Watch it from the reeds. See where the Lord will lead him." So keep this quote in mind, because this is key to this message that I'm giving you today. So, and also this is depicted in the animated version of the story of Moses called The Prince of Egypt. Now, this came out, I want to say it was either late 90s, probably late 90s or something like that, or early 2000s. Anyway, I can't exactly remember the year when the this animated movie came out, but it also shows Moses' mother putting him in a basket and floating him, putting him on the river and him floating down the river. And then, in this animated version, it's more dramatized, where, the crocodiles are trying to eat him. I believe the hippopotamus is trying to eat him. And even he was almost, the fishermen, their paddles was hitting the basket, as you see in this screenshot here, even the fish, he's all among the fish. The basket is all among the fish. So it was very highly dramatized in the animated version. So I'm also including a clip, a screenshot of the clip that you can see it for yourself. So let's go back to Exodus 2 and let's read verse 3 again. And when she could not longer hide him, she took for him an ark of bulrushes, and daubed it with slime and with pitch, and put the child therein, and she laid it in the flags by the river's brink. Now I have flags, and I have brink underlined and in bold font for a reason. Now let's look at the word flags first. What does flags mean? Now, in this day and time, we think a flag is something like a piece of cloth, decorated piece of cloth. You fly like the American flag, or whatever kind of flag representing a next country or state. So, but let's see what flag means in this instance. So, in flags, which is in Hebrew Strong Concordance H5488. So, and you can I just chose an online Strong's Concordance, and I just typed in flags in KJV, and here's what I found. So, of course, this is a Hebrew pronunciation of the word. But if you go down here, KJV translates Strong's H5488 in the following manner: red or flags or weeds. But down here it says reed, rush, water plant. So as you know, these are plants. These flags that they're talking about in the scripture, these are plants. These are reeds. And now there are certain, regions of the world where that grows these type of weeds in the water. Okay, so what about brink, the river's brink? What does brink mean? So once again, we'll go to Strong's. Brink is HA193. So let's see what brink means in this instance. So as you can see, that's the Hebrew pronunciation. Safal, I'm not sure exactly how it's pronounced in Hebrew, but if you go down here, it can mean lip or bank, brim, edge, border, shore, brink. So what it means is by the river's edge, by the river's bank, by the river's border. So that would be the most sensible meaning, translation of it. So it means the river's brink, by the river's bank. So I just want, so if we can have a better understanding of what it's talking about. It's good. Strong's Concordance is very good to give you a clear understanding of what certain words mean, because meaning of words can change over time. So maybe the time when this was written or when it was translated, it was a different meaning from what it was today. So that's why the Strong Concordance is really good to have on hand. And also, verse 4, I meant. Exodus chapter 2, verse 4. There's another word I want to look at. And his sister stood afar off to wit, which is mean to see what would be done to him. And of course, we know stood is to be in one place. Stood is a past tense version of stand, which is mean to stand in one place. So going back to how Moses in the basket was depicted in the movies, the clips that I showed, the screenshot of the clips that I showed you in the Ten Commandments and in the Prince of Egypt, they always depicted Moses as floating in the basket. But after, it was some years ago, I was listening to a lesson. It was on the Sabbath. I was listening to a lesson that a brother was doing. And he was discussing this story, which was Moses' mother putting him in the basket. And he was saying how it's always depicted as, Moses floating along the river in the basket. But then he said that no, the basket was sitting still. And then when you go back and read those verses, it actually, the biblical account actually supports that, because his sister stood afar off. Now, you remember I was telling you to keep in mind the quote of Moses' mother in the movie. It says, she said, follow it, Miriam, watch him from the reeds, see where the Lord will lead him. But as you can see, that's not quite how the Bible, says how it happened. It says his sister stood. Now, if the basket was floating in the river, it would have said his sister followed to see what would happen. But no, it didn't say follow. It said stood. So I just thought that was, sort of interesting how you can't always go by how things are depicted in the movie and believe that that's actually how it happened. No, the basket was sitting still. Of course, it would make it more interesting and dramatic to think that Moses was floating along the river and going here and yonder. No, 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 no. He was actually sitting still among the reeds. And if you, go on and read beyond verses 3 and 4, you will see where Pharaoh's daughter finds sees the basket, and she sends her maids to get the basket. And it says the basket was among the flags. So if you continue reading the story, but I just, decided just to stop right here because the point is already made that no, the basket was not floating in the river. It was sitting still. So I hope you learned a little bit in this brief lesson, and thank you for watching. And until next time, be blessed.